individual apparatus finals, you're looking at Valentin Mogilny. He has the best score coming in, a 9.9, but you also have to be aware of Korolev from the Soviet Union, who has a 9.8. Also, there's a young man named Rizan. We'll see him. He's in there battling with a 9.75. Mogilny says the Pommel horse is his best apparatus.
And you can see why it's his best apparatus and why he has a 9.9 coming in. Look at this work. Perfect body line. One pommel work. Now watch this on the end. He breaks into flares, and he's doing what they call a spindle in flares. And he travels up. Now, yesterday, this is where he had trouble right there, but he got by. Well, his exercise is perfect at this point.
This is an incredibly long routine, and all the parts are of value.
Okay, flares to the end, and a handstand. That's your guy right there.
Valentin Mogilny, Soviet Union. Quite a performance, coming in with a 9.80.
Now watch the extension. The most important thing to notice here is how high his hips are above the horse.
This is definitely one of the best routines done in the world, if not the best.
And notice how long his arms are. He has tremendous elevation over the pommels, and that helps a great deal.
So we await the score, a 9.90, and that really vaults him out in front. That's going to be hard to beat. He came in with the highest score in the competition, a 9.9. So he's now out in front with a 19.80. You're looking at him right now, Valentin Mogilny. He's from the Soviet Union. So the young man you're watching right now is Marian Rizan. He has a 9.75. He's from Romania.
Okay, now Rizan is doing longitudinal travels, but notice the difference. There's not quite the same extension that you'll see in Mogilny.
He really uses pure strength rather than technique.
And he seems to be bending his knees on the circles. The rhythm is a little choppy. The scissors aren't very high. But I'll tell you, he's doing every trick in the book. You got to hand it to him there.
Marian Rizan, the 19-year-old Romanian, coming in with a 9.75, a perfect 10, would keep him about 5/100ths of a point behind our current leader, Mogilny. But his best hope right now is to get a high enough score to even come up with a medal.
Okay, you can see on the replay, he's doing some very difficult tricks, but he doesn't quite have the elevation over the horse that we saw from Mogilny, partly because his arms just aren't as long.
Marian Rizan from Romania, 19 years of age, awaiting the judge's decision, anxiously pacing the sidelines there, and he comes up with a 9.75, which puts him in second place right now with a 19.50. But Phil Cahoy, who's in fourth place from the United States, is getting ready to work on the Pommel horse. Now, Cahoy needs a 9.85 to go into second place.
He just might be able to get it. Phil has a very good routine.
That first move was really hard. He reached from one end of the horse all the way to the other.
Does Russian Moors in a straddle position, right into flares. Phil has great scissors. Very high leg kicks. A Russian Moor to the end, and a loop with a half dismount. Not the most difficult dismount. He should have done a more difficult dismount for the big score, but still a clean exercise.
Phil Cahoy needing a 9.85 to move into second place ahead of Rizan from Romania.
Here's these Russian Moors that Phil does. Actually, you know how he came up with these tricks? He was playing around in practice one day, and his legs came apart. And he said, hey, that looks pretty good.
9.75 for Phil Cahoy of Lincoln, Nebraska. That's not enough to beat Rizan. Now, Phil did well, but he knows that Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union, who came into the competition a tenth of a point ahead of him, coming up, and it's going to be hard for Phil to hold on to third place. Here's Korolev, who needs a 9.75 to finish in second place. A perfect 10 to tie Mogilny.
His body type is not typical of the other Soviet athletes. He's really rather short and stocky, and it's most noticeable in this event.
You know, I think of all the events, this is probably his weakest because of his body style, like you mentioned. He's very clean, though, and he's going to give away very few points to deductions. Nice work on a flare here up to a handstand. Now, there's a half pirouette and then an undercut on the way down. That's original work. He's back into circles, back more travel to the end, And a loop to a handstand with his legs together, a D move, one of the harder moves you can do as a dismount.
Yuri Korolev, married to a nurse. His wife's name's Galina. Alexei, a young son. And we'll look at part of his routine once again.
This is probably the most spectacular part of his routine. He does a flare up to a handstand. Now here comes the originality. He does a pirouette and then undercut on the way down. He gets points for originality, and of course he did it with perfect form.
And his score 9.90 moves him into second place, while Rizan of Romania drops to third. Bill Cahoy of the United States is out of the running right now. He's in fourth place.
Hey, and there are our American girls. They're getting ready for the competition tomorrow and also cheering on their teammates.
Team competition starts tomorrow. We'll be covering that. Meanwhile, this is Brian Babcock of the United States. He has a 9.6, a 9.9, would give the United States a medal. That would tie him for third place. He's working the Pommel horse.
Brian's very good on the horse. He starts with loops, travels up and across the horse. So far, so good. On the back where, okay, he's leaning back. That's going to cost him about 3/10 of a point for hitting the horse. There's a handstand. Pirouette down. A little choppy in the middle there. He's got to keep better rhythm in the exercise if he wants the big score. This is better. Flares to the end. And a good dismount.
Brian Babcock, currently living in Carbondale, Illinois, and working on his master's degree in biomechanics at Southern Illinois University. Remember, I said he needed a 9.9 to give the United States a medal in the Pommel horse. It would tie him for third with Rizan of Romania.
And I just don't think he's going to get it, Charlie, because of the mistakes in the middle of the exercise.
And he looks like he knows he made those mistakes. We'll wait to score 9.55, so he missed a shot at earning a medal for the United States. Let's check the standings. Mogilny wins it with a gold medal on top.